Hello, student. Good morning. I hope everyone will be fine and doing well. Today we will start Unit 10 Gaseous Exchanges. As the name suggests, gaseous, which is gases, and exchange mean exchange of gases. So, as you can see the animated picture, that here is the alveolus gas exchange mean in the lungs and the alveoli, like O2 and CO2 are the two gases which is exchange in the alveoli, and the blood body tissue gaseous exchange. And in the next animated picture, as you can see the plant, the leaf, and here is the stomata, and the gaseous exchanges occur like CO2 and O2. So the table of content what we will discuss and explain in this lecture. First is the introduction. The second is gaseous exchange in plant. Third is gaseous exchange in men and humans. Fourth is the mechanism of breathing. Fifth is respiratory disorders, and the last is exercise, which we will explain and solve the MCQs type question. So first is the introduction, and in the introduction the first question is what is respiration and breathing. So as we know that respiration is basically occur at cellular level, and breathing is the mechanical process. So the differences we will discuss here is like breathing is the intake of fresh air and removal of impure or foul air, means the dirty air and the mixture of different gases which is not needed by our body. So intake of fresh or pure air and removal of foul or impure air, while the respiration is the oxidation of food to form carbon dioxide, water, and energy. So this is the respiration, which is the breakdown, and oxidation means the gaining of oxygen and the loss of carbon dioxide, loss of hydrogen. Then the next differences of the breathing and respiration is that breathing is the physical process, means we take the air and take out the air. So this is just a physical process, while respiration is the biochemical process which occur at a cellular level. The third difference is no energy is released, rather used. In the breathing, no energy is released, means just it is the intake and outtake of the air. While in the respiration, energy is released in the form of ATP, adenosine triphosphate. And the fourth difference is the extracellular process, which is outside the cell, while respiration is intracellular process, mean between the cells. No enzyme involved in case of breathing, while in respiration large number of enzymes are involved and confined to certain organs, mean breathing is the physical process, and like humans and different animals do physical breathing, while some through the gills or some through the skin. So different animals and plants have different requirements of the breathing. And respiration occur in all the cells of the body, so means respiration occurs in all cells of the body. Here you can see the breathing, that oxygen is intake of oxygen is out, and thus carbon dioxide is out from the lungs. And here is the cell, which is the from the taken from the lungs, and here you can see that 6 CO2 is coming out while O2 is taken by the cells. And here you can see the glucose, eating glucose and water vapors come. So cellular respiration is, you can see that glucose and oxygen combine to form carbon dioxide and water and 36 ATP, which we use as energy. So this is the breathing and cellular respiration. Then in the introduction, we have gaseous exchange. What is gaseous exchange? So gaseous exchange is basically the diffusion of gases from an area of higher concentration to an area of lower concentration is called gaseous exchange. Means that the area where there is high concentration means large amount of gases are present, then those gases will be diffuse, mean going to the area where there is low concentration or low number of gases. Like you can see the perfume, when you use the perfume in the area, then it's spread into the area where there is no perfume, so we can also feel the perfume in that area. So this is basically the gaseous exchange of gases. Another point is gaseous exchange is a process in which plant and other organisms exchange different gases with environment. So gaseous exchange, like we discussed the diffusion of gases. So it is the process in which plant and other organism like human, animal exchange different gases with environment. The third point is the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide occur between an organism and its environment. Like we need oxygen, so we exchange oxygen with the environment. We use the oxygen and take out the carbon dioxide. Similarly, plants use the carbon dioxide and give us the oxygen. So it is the exchange of gases. Then here you can see that the O2 is consumed by this animal, which is mouse, or you can see rat. So here the oxygen is used, while here you can see the carbon dioxide is coming out. So in case of humans or animal, they use oxygen and bake the carbon dioxide. Here you can see the carbon dioxide used by the plant for photosynthesis, and oxygen is the byproduct. So we are all dependent on each other. Exchange of gases, carbon dioxide and oxygen and other gases. Then gaseous exchange in plants. So plant often the gases they need through their leaves. So leaves are the main gaseous exchange for the plant. Then in small plants such as mosses, leaves and other structure are very thin. So in small plant the leaves are very thin and gases are able to move in and out via diffusion. So there is a gaseous exchange occur via diffusion. Then in more complex plant means the large plants, the oxygen and carbon dioxide is exchanged through the stomata on leaves. So in leaves there is stomata, so there is the exchange of gases, stems and roots. The inner cells of leaves. Inside the leaves there are some inner cells which we call mesophyll, and stems also have air spaces among them which help in the exchange of gases. Then leaf cell phase 2 situation. So the leaf basically phase 2 situation means the daytime and the night time. So during the daytime, when the mesophyll cells of leaves are carrying out photosynthesis and respiration side by side, oxygen produced in photosynthesis, as we discussed in the previous slide, that carbon dioxide is used in photosynthesis while oxygen is produced, is utilized in cellular respiration. Similarly, the carbon dioxide produced during cellular respiration is utilized in photosynthesis. However, during night, when there is no photosynthesis, as we know that photo mean light, so in the night time there is no sunlight, there is no light, so there is no photosynthesis. So occurring, the leaf cells get oxygen from the environment and release carbon dioxide through stomata. That's why we says the scientist says they don't sleep under the tree during night time, because the trees produce carbon dioxide instead of giving us oxygen. So that's why we do not need carbon dioxide. That's why some people under the tree, when they sleep at night time, they die. The last uh, point is respiration is a reverse process of photosynthesis. So respiration and photosynthesis both are reverse processes. In photosynthesis, glucose and oxygen is produced. So in photosynthesis, glucose is produced and oxygen is produced, which are used in respiration by plants. So plants and produce energy, and surplus glucose is stored in plant as starch are converted as protein and fat, whereas oxygen is given out. So oxygen is given out means oxygen is out from the plant, and we use that oxygen for ourselves. Here you can see the cellular cross-sectional vertical section of leaf, the cuticle, upper epidermis, mesophyll, chloroplast, which gives the green coloration, spongy mesophyll, air space, and lower epidermis, guard cell. And here you can see the carbon dioxide enter through these pores. Then the stomata opening and closing. The opening and closing of stomata can be in response to water moving in or out of the cell. So stomata is basically when the water moves in. When the water enter into the plant's leaf cell, then the stomata open. When the water is coming out of the cell, the stomata is closed. So stomata closing and opening in response to the water. When water moves into the cell, the turgor of the cell increases and causing them to lengthen and open the stomata. When water rushes into the cell, then the cell size increases and it opens the stomata. Similarly, opening and closing of the stomata can also be in response to light and low internal carbon dioxide level. So during the daytime, when there is light, so it also causes the opening of stomata. And low internal carbon dioxide, when there is low carbon dioxide inside the cell of the leaf or plant, then it also causes the opening and closing of the stomata. Here you can see the carbon dioxide is entered, like this is the leaf and this is the magnifying picture of that part, which they shows the stomata. This is the open stomata and CO2 enter in their stomata. This is the closed stomata, and carbon dioxide, the oxygen and water is coming out. Here is the stomata open and close, more elaborated or explanatory picture. You can see the open part and this is the closed stomata. Then in the woody stems and mature roots, the entire surface is covered by bark, which is impervious, means not able to be penetrated as by water, light, etc. So in the mature plant, in the woody and old plant, there is a covered by bark. The bark, which is, you can see, a membrane-like structure, and that is very difficult for the water and light to enter through plant to gases or water. Similarly, there are certain pores in the layer of bark. In dead bark, in the bark of woody or mature roots, there is pores in the layer of bark. These are called lenticels. And lenticels are small scar-like opening present on the bark of woody plant involved in transpiration, and gases exchange also occur through lenticels. So the lenticels are the main part, means the woody bark, there is certain force in the layer, and which we call lenticels, which is the main source of gaseous exchange in woody stems and mature roots. The lenticels allow air to pass through them. Here you can see the mature woody stem, and these are the lenticels, the small a group of loosely organized bark cells for gaseous exchange. You can see here the lenticels. Then gaseous exchange in man are, we can see simply in humans. In humans and other higher animals like cattle, buffaloes, or you can see the um, uh, elephants, etc. So the exchange of gases is carried out by the respiratory system. So the respiratory system is basically consists of two parts. The first is the air passageway and the lungs. The air passageway consists of nose, in which we have two nostrils, the outside two nostrils, then nasal cavity, and the pharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchi, and bronchioles. Here I will show in the picture. The nostril are the two opening of the nose. Then the air enter through the nostril, then to the nasal cavity. And here is the pharynx. Pharynx is basically you can see a highway, a road in which different roads are combined together, or you can see a choke-like structure in which the oral cavity, the nasal cavity, and the air canal, they all meet here in the pharynx side. So we can also breathe through mouth and through nostril. So air enter through nostril or coming out from the mouth through pharynx. Then in the pharynx we have epiglottis and glottis, which is the two part of the larynx, and these are very important in the time of breathing and eating. So when we eat, the epiglottis and glottis close the trachea so that food do not enter into the trachea. If the food enter into the trachea, so we can cough that time, and we throw the food because it enter into the trachea during breathing or during talking. We do not know, and the food enter into the trachea, so instantly, suddenly we start coughing. Similarly, after the larynx, epiglottis and glottis are the part of larynx. Remember this larynx, these two are the part of larynx. Then the larynx enter into the trachea, which is the pipe-like structure, and this is a C-shaped, which is C-shaped structure, the trachea. And then trachea enter in divided into two bronchi. Here you can see the left and right bronchi. Then bronchi further divide into bronchioles, the small structure, and bronchioles then into the alveoli. Here you can see the bunch grapes like structure. The bronchioles branches into many short tubes of equal diameter called alveolar ducts. The bronchiole then divide into short tubes called alveolar ducts, all alveolar 5, which enter and in tiny hollow bags called air sacs. Then the alveolar ducts and means divide into tiny small hole-like bags called air sacs, and air sacs have many bubble-like pockets like grape-like structure in their wall called alveoli. Alveoli is the main structure in which there is gaseous exchange occur. So there are two lungs, as we know, left and right, and the two lungs are laying in the thoracic cavity. The thoracic, the chest cavity, on either side of the heart. The lungs are protected by ribs. So the lungs in the thoracic cavity are protected by our ribs and the intercostal muscles. So the intercostal means ribs. So intercostal, between ribs. So between two ribs there is muscle which we call intercostal muscles. Each lung is surrounded by a membrane called pleura. So the lungs is basically covered or surrounded by a thin sheet or a thin layer called or membrane called pleura. Pleura, pleura is for the lungs. It is a double membrane. So pleura, the lungs is covered by a double membrane, two membranes, and between these two membranes there is fluid which we call pleural fluid, pleural fluid. Pleura is basically a membrane, and between two membrane we have fluid which we call pleural fluid. So the fluid enables them to glide over one another. The lungs are spongy. Lungs are basically sponge-like structure which is very soft. When we touch the animal lungs, they are very soft and sponge-like appearance due to presence of alveoli, grapes-like structure. Alveoli looks like bunch of grapes. Each alveolus is surrounded by a network of capillaries. So very dense network of capillary where gaseous exchange occur means the oxygenated and deoxygenated means the O2 and CO2 exchange occur. Here the real work of respiration system take place as the blood and air are side by side. So during respiration in the capillary and the lungs, the air, the oxygenated the oxygenated air and the deoxygenated blood, the exchange of two gases occur. From the deoxygenated blood the CO2 enter to the lungs, and from the lungs the oxygenated air is the oxygen is enter into the blood. So the blood become like pure while the air become impure. So we throw out that carbon dioxide out of the body, and the oxygen is used by the body. Oxygen dissolve in this moisture and then diffuse across the thin walled blood capillary into the blood. I explained already. Here you can see that the air enter. So when the air enter, you can see in the this is the trachea, this is bronchi tube, then bronchioles, and this is the alveoli which is the grapes like appearance. So here you can see the O2 and the capillary network. So mechanism of breathing is we discuss in the first slide that breathing is physical process. So the physical movement associated with the gaseous exchange are called breathing, or the physical movement of the air is called breathing, or the intake of the pure air and the outtake of the impure air is called breathing. So breathing occur in two phases: the inhalation, which is also called inspiration or inspiration, and exhalation, which we called expiration and some people call expiration. Here you can see this is the intake of oxygenated air, or we can see pure air. So air enter through nostril into the lungs. The diaphragm contract and goes down. Then here the air out and the diaphragm become dome shape. In the next slide, as you can see, the air moves in. The ribs are raised. The chest, our chest become, when we breathe in, the chest become raised, coming out forward, and the diaphragm moves down a little bit. You can see here in the chest become like raised, and the air enter and the diaphragm down. Steps of inhalation. Air moves out. You can see the ribs are lowered. When we relax, means the air come out. The ribs goes down, and the diaphragms moves up. Here you can see a dome shape like structure. Dome, D-O-M-E, dome. Here is the explanation. Inspiration or inhalation. During inspiration, the rib muscle contract The ribs muscle contract or the chest muscle contract and ribs are raised. The ribs raised mean the chest cavity comes out or raised. At the same time, the dome-shaped diaphragm contracts and is lowered. As you can see here, the dome-shaped diaphragm is lowered means come down. At the same time, these movements increase the area of the thoracic cavity, which reduces the pressure on lungs. So this contraction of the diaphragm and the raising of the ribs cause the diaphragm contract and reduces the pressure on lungs. As a result, the lungs expand, means the lungs increase in the size, and the air pressure within them also decreases. The air from, so when the air pressure decrease in the lungs, so as we know that diffusion, so the air from outside environment rushes into the lungs to equalize the pressure on both sides. And also we know the breathing movements are involuntary. Sometimes we control it, but we cannot control it for longer time. So breathing movements are involuntary to a large extent. We can control the rate of breathing, but not for a long time. Then expiration or exhalation. So after the gaseous exchange in the lungs, the impure air is expelled out in exhalation. The ribs muscle relax, bringing the ribs back to the original position, and the diaphragm muscle gets its raised dome shape. This reduces the space in the chest cavity and increases the pressure on lungs. The lungs contract and the air is expelled out of them. Here is the process of breathing and different process. You can see the diaphragm during inspiration contract. When diaphragm contract, it moves down, and during expiration it relax and moves up, and it becomes dome shaped structure. While the external intercostal muscle between ribs muscle, so external intercostal muscle contract during inspiration, while expiration it relaxes. Rib cage, the chest cavity moves up and out during inspiration, and during expiration it goes to the original position, means moves down and inward. Volume of thorax increase during inspiration while expiration decreases. Pressure of thorax so decreases during inspiration while expiration increases, and air moves in inhalation. So inspiration is basically inhalation. So air enter into the lungs, while in expiration or exhalation move air out of the lungs. So this is the 6 steps of the breathing. Then the respiratory disorder. The first one is bronchitis. As the name suggests, bronchi and tis mean inflammation. So bronchitis is the inflammation of the bronchi or bronchiole. It results in excessive secretion of mucus into the bronchial tubes, leading to the swelling of the tubular walls and narrowing of tubes. When there is excessive secretion of mucus, the walls or the tube of the bronchi become narrower, so we have difficulty in breathing. Also, it is caused by viruses, bacteria, or exposure to chemical irritants such as tobacco smoking. So that's why smoking is very dangerous for health, because it causes bronchitis, inflammation of the bronchi or bronchiole. There are two major types of bronchitis. The inflammation of bronchi is called bronchitis, and bronchiole is bronchiolitis. So there are two types of bronchitis: acute and chronic. Acute, which is for short time; chronic for long time. The acute bronchitis usually lasts about 2 weeks. So the acute bronchitis just for 2 weeks, and patient recover with no permanent damage to the bronchi. So there is no such longer damage to bronchi or bronchiole in acute bronchitis. But in chronic bronchitis, the bronchi develop chronic inflammation, which is very severe. It usually lasts for 3 months or 2 years, which is very long duration. So the treatment is take rest. Rest is very important because there is breathing problem. So you must have to rest or use inhaler, or if your doctor think that you have a secondary bacterial infection. So if the doctor think that there is bacterial infection of the bronchitis, then you must have to take antibiotics to kill those bacteria. Here you can see the bronchitis and bronchiolitis. Bronchitis is basically the inflammation of bronchi. Bronchiolitis is the inflammation of bronchioles, the small structure. So when the trachea divide, it leads to bronchi, and this inflammation is called bronchitis. And if the inflammation is the bronchiole, then we call it bronchiolitis. Here you can see the mucus and the shortening of the tube, and this leads to breathing difficulty. The second disorder is emphysema. Some people call it is emphysema, or some people call it is empyema. So emphysema is a respiratory disease. As we are discussing gaseous exchange, and the disorder in the gaseous is the respiratory disease emphysema, where there is overinflation. Means high inflation means in the size of the alveoli in the lungs, causing a decrease in lung function. When there is overinflation of the alveoli, the function of the lungs decrease, and the emphysema is basically the destruction of the walls of the alveoli, and it results in large sac but with less surface area for gaseous exchange. So when there is very less surface area for gaseous exchange, there is very less gaseous exchange, the gas exchange is very less, so we face difficulty in breathing or shortness of breath. Symptoms: the main signs of emphysema is increase in breathlessness. Breathlessness means we are unable to breathe, or shortness of breath. In advanced cases, the patient find it difficult to walk. So when there is advanced case or severe case, the patient faces difficulty in walking because of the breathlessness. The lungs lose elasticity, so that it becomes more difficult to exhale air. So the lungs lose elasticity, and this lead to difficulty in the out of the air exhalation process. We can inhale, but exhalation is very difficult, and this leads to difficulty in walking. Inflammation of narrowing of the finer bronchiole also occur. So emphysema is not just about the alveoli, but it also affects the finer, the very smaller bronchioles. It is due to gradual breakdown. The causes of this emphysema is the gradual breakdown of thin wall of the alveoli, as we discussed in the definition that emphysema is the destruction of the walls of the alveoli. So the gradual, the slowly and gradually means the continuous breakdown of the thin walls of alveoli, and the total surface area for gaseous exchange decrease. And the main cause is the long-term irritation of the lungs, most commonly by cigarette smoke, air pollution, or industrial dust. So the main cause for emphysema is the three: cigarette smoking, air pollution, or industrial dust. So these three main are the causes for the development of emphysema. Treatment treatment methods for emphysema do not cure or reverse the damage to the lungs. So there is no such treatment to reverse the damage, to treat the damage of the emphysema. The best way to prevent emphysema is to avoid smoking. So it is good to stop smoking, to use the mask in bed air or in pollution or industrial dust. A variety of medication may be used in the treatment of emphysema. Different medicine is used when you visit the doctor. Here you can see the alveoli. This is the normal alveoli. You can see the size, and here the enlarged size, the large air pocket, but there is inflammation, there is mucus, there is different mucus material, and this block the destruct the alveoli, and the gaseous exchange is very limited or very less. The third respiratory disorder is pneumonia. P is silent, so we call it pneumonia. Pneumonia is the inflammation of alveoli of lungs caused by acute infection. So pneumonia is basically from the infection, means from the microorganism like bacteria, viruses, or fungal infections. So, but basically when caused by bacteria, we call it pneumonia. Double pneumonia is a lung infection that affects both left and right lungs. Double pneumonia. The symptoms is fever. There will be fever, means rising in body temperature, shaking, chills, chest pain. You will feel the chest pain, cough, headache, pain in head, sore throat, nausea, diarrhea, and etc. The cause is the most common cause of pneumonia is bacteria, as we say that it is caused by acute infection, and infection caused by bacteria, and the most common bacteria of pneumonia is Streptococcus pneumoniae. This is the bacteria which cause pneumonia, the most common. Treatment antibiotics are prescribed for bacterial pneumonia, as we discussed in the last slides, that when there is secondary bacterial infection, then the doctor prescribed antibiotics. So for the pneumonia, we use antibiotic to kill the bacterial pneumonia. Here you can see this is the lungs, this is the portion normal alveoli, and here is the fluid and pus filled air space. This is the alveoli, and it is filled with fluid and pus, which produced by bacteria and blood cells, and that's why we have chest pain during breathing, or we have cough and sore throat because of the bacterial infection. Asthma. Fourth respiratory disorder is asthma. Asthma is the common chronic inflammatory disease of the airways. So asthma is the chronic, the severe. Chronic means severe, which is for longer time. Inflammatory disease of the airways, of the air passage. Symptoms: the person has more difficulty in breathing and out than breathing in. So the person feel more difficult when the air is coming out than breathing in inner. A characteristic whistling sound. There will be whistling sound like this is like characteristic whistling sound is caused by breathing when he or she breathes. There is secretion of excess of mucus and swelling of the lining of the respiratory pathway. There is excess mucus, very large amount of mucus secretion. And swelling means there is inflammation, means increase in size of the lining of the respiratory pathway. Causes: allergic response to substances, like if you are allergic to something like pollen, household dust, particular food, or feathers, room pillow, cold air, exercise, and smoking. So some people are allergic to different substances, like some people are allergic to flower pollen during spring season, or some to the perfume, some to the dust. Some people are allergic to food. Some people are allergic to old clothes. So this lead to asthma. And emotional disturbances may also provoke an attack of the asthma. Treatment: mild attack of asthma is controlled with bronchodilators like inhalers, but asthma is a long-term disease that has no cure. So allergic people have no disease, have no cure. Means they use the medicine, but this medicine is used for lifetime, not cure for lifetime. So treatment is not possible. You have to use medicine for the life. Asthma is treated with two types of medicine: long-term control and quick relief medicine. So if we have allergy attack, we just use the medicine tablet and we become okay. But again, this asthma coming out, this attack comes again when there is again the allergic substances like pollen, dust, etc. Here you can see a lung without asthma. When there is no asthma, respiratory disorder, the five or the tube is very wide and open. There is no excess mucus, normal amount of mucus. But when there is asthma, muscle tight, all airways swell. You can see this reddish, it is become swell, and mucus clogs the airways. So this is the mucus which means the narrow, which leads to narrow of the tube. Lungs have difficult moving air in and out, so the out and in of the breath is very difficulty. Inhaler we used sometime for the quick relief of asthma. Here you can see a girl, a kid use the inhaler to open the airways. When we use the inhaler, it wide the airways and we can breathe in and out the air normally. But it is not a lifelong relief, just a quick relief, just a quick treatment. Here you can see this is the asthma, not asthma, this is just wrong heading, but this is basically a lung cancer. Lung cancer is a disease of uncontrolled cell division in the tissue of lung. Uncontrolled mean which we cannot control, and the cell division occur, and then there is a mass of the cells, and this we call tumor or cancer. The cell continue to divide without any control and form tumors. The cellular growth may also invade adjacent tissue beyond the lung. So when there is tumor, sometime the tumor also spread to other organs, to other cells, and there is very big issue for us. Symptoms: the first event appears to be thickening and callousing of the cells lining the bronchi. So the first event is the thickening, means there will be thickening of the cells of the air passage, mean bronchi, and hardening. Then there is a loss of cilia. The cilia, which is a protective cells, they lose their function, and so that it is impossible to prevent dust and dirt from sitting in the lung. So during breathing, when the air enter into the nostril, to the nose, there is a small hair which prevent the dust and dirt. And also we have different mechanism in the trachea and bronchi. So when during lung cancer, when the bronchi become damaged and the cilia loss, then it is impossible to prevent the dust and dirt, and the dust and dirt enter into the lungs and it cause the lung cancer. After that, a tumor consisting of cancerous cell, uncontrolled cells with a typical nucleus appear at one location. Due to metastasis, the cancer spread. Due to metastatic nature, those tumors spread to the different location. The tumor may grow until the bronchus is blocked. When the bronchus is fully blocked, then we see the cutting of the supply of air to that lungs, and that lungs become damaged. Sometime there is death. That's why we have to stop smoking to not damage our lungs. Tobacco smoke is the main cause of cancer. So people that smoke can lead to cancer, not the but when we smoke for a longer time continuously, then it causes cancer, and air pollution also increase the risk of lung cancer and the bad air. The dirty air also causes the lung cancer. Car exhaust means the specially car exhaust, the air pollution from the car exhaust, asbestos and arsenic. Asbestos is the basically present in the plastic materials and arsenic. So these material also present in the air and in the cigarette. So that cause the cancer. The only treatment is pneumonectomy. Pneumonectomy is the cutting of the part of the lungs or lobe of the lungs or complete one lung or so remove a lobe or the lung completely or destroy it through radiation through different laser therapy or radiations. This you can see the healthy lungs which is pinkish in color and the smoker's lung which is blackish and reddish yellowish color. Effect of smoking. Smoking is very harmful to human health. The smoke contains chemicals and gases, and the dried tobacco leaves are used in cigarette. So the tobacco plant leaves dried and then it is used in cigarette. The tobacco on burning produce, so those leaves on burning produce a number of dangerous and toxic compounds. There are 7,000 chemical in cigarette smoke include. So there are 7,000 different chemicals and out of 7,000, 70 are carcinogenic which causes the cancer. Emphysema and lung cancer may be the outcome of smoking. So people that smoke leads to either emphysema or lung cancer. And cigarette smoke affect the structure and function of the lung. As we discussed that when we smoke, then it destruct the bronchi and then to the tumor. Toxin in cigarette alter the airways alveoli. Alter means change, disturb the airways alveoli and the capillary and the immune system of the lungs. Smoking increase a risk or probability or chances of pneumonia by 4 times and tuberculosis of the lungs by 2 or 4 times to 4 times. So smoking leads to pneumonia 4 times and tuberculosis of the lungs by 2 or 4 times. So this is the two condition which caused by the smoking. Passive smoker, people that are sitting near to the smokers and they inhale the smoke that are produced from the smoker's cigarette. So passive smoker is the inhalation of tobacco smoke called passive smoker. Second-hand smoke or environmental tobacco smoke by individual other than the active smoker. So active smoker, the people that smoke, but the passive smoker that smoke the air of the cigarette, not the cigarette. Here the dangerous poison which is we discussed at 77,000 chemicals and out of 7,770 are carcinogenic. So you can see nicotine which is used in herbicide and insecticide to kill the different insects. Similarly, mouth repellent naphthalene used in rocket fuel, methanol, naphthylamine, acetone, ammoniac used in detergent, cyanhydric acid, arsenic which is the lethal poison, carcinogenic. Similarly, DDT, cadmium, carbon monoxide which is also produced in the exhaust fumes from the car, etc. So cigarette is very dangerous and it leads to emphysema and lung cancer. Select the correct answer. So CO2 produced by a plant is used for photosynthesis. So carbon dioxide is produced by a plant is used for photosynthesis. Most of the gaseous exchange in plant take place through stomata. One reason for emphysema is smoking. We discussed in human during expiration diaphragm is raised dome-shaped structure. It makes the dome shape and ribs are lowered means relax. What is the percentage of oxygen in expired air when a person is resting? 16%. And which path does a molecule of oxygen take as it enters to the body? So when the air enters into the body through nostril, then nasal cavity, pharynx, larynx, trachea. After larynx there is trachea, bronchus, bronchiole and alveolus. This is the MCQs of this chapter. And if you have any question of the, you can ask in comment section. Thank you.